of it is absurd. Starting with LeBron's the GOAT, it's stamped. No, actually, Jordan's the GOAT, it's stamped. There's nothing LeBron's going to do now that's going to convince anyone who knows that at his best he's better than Jordan, because he's not. No, the numbers say it and the championships say it. That's number one. Number two, you act like Perkins has an old soul. Perk, you got an old soul, but you're actually a youngin'. You're over 10 years younger than me, and more than that, younger than Stephen A. You didn't really live through the Jordan era, so you're disrespecting the teams he beat. Michael Jordan, just in the second three-peat, had a year where when he comes back, had a full season back, he beat a 60-win Shaq and Penny team. That was a super team that had just been to the finals. Shaq, Penny, and an excellent supporting cast. He swept them. He then beat a 64-win Seattle team with Gary Payton and Sean Kemp. They were crew deep. They won 64 games. Well, if he beats another super team, the Nets have a big three. As I said, there's pressure on them to get to the finals. A lot of people aren't convinced they'll get to the finals. Most people aren't taking them to beat the Lakers. They're not the favorites against the Lakers because you brought it up yourself. A lot of people brought it up. There's only one ball. How are Harden and Kyrie going to play together? KD's coming back off the injury. Is his health going to hold up? Who's going to play defense because they weren't playing it well before Harden got there? Beating that team, you think, puts LeBron James over a Michael Jordan who never even got taken seven games in the finals and 6-0?
Max, you know good and damn well we only got 2 minutes left. Why are you going to chew up all the time? Go ahead, Kendrick.
Yeah, Max. And Max, I thought you was going to bring up Jeff Hornacek again because I was going to walk off the set. But listen, let me tell you something, Max. If you're about to downgrade that 73-19 when Braun came back 3-1, then you're tripping right now. And if you're about to sit up here and tell me that with a Kyrie Irving, who was one of the most skilled players to ever touch the damn basketball, and Kevin Durant, arguably the best scorer to ever touch the damn basketball, James Harden, arguably the most prolific scorer to touch the damn basketball, all on one team, and you're telling me that that's not a super team and it's not championship or bust, you're out your damn mind. It is championship or bust. And if they happen to meet up with the Lakers in the finals and the Lakers beat them, I don't want to hear nothing. I don't want to hear that GOAT talk no more from you or Stephen A.
Well, Max, first of all,
the stuff you just said about, go ahead, Stephen A.
Kendrick, I got to go, but let me say this to you. First of all, Kendrick, I disagree with you. Secondly, on this show, I will say what I want to say. Thirdly, and more importantly, here's the deal, Kendrick Perkins. Here's the deal. You can say that all you want to, but you dilute your own argument because you don't even have Brooklyn coming out of the East. You got Philly. So evidently, they ain't that damn super in Brooklyn. All I'm trying to say is this. We got the Lakers got a chip. Lakers got a chip. But in the end, he's still LBJ. I love him, number 2 all time.
James Harden last night. For much more, let's bring in Stephen A. Smith. You're the first person I thought of when I heard about this trade. Your reaction to this blockbuster move?
Well, first of all, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, it's finals or bust. You assemble Lethal Weapon 3, which is what we could easily call them right now. There's simply no excuse not to come out of the East and advance to the NBA Finals. There really is not an excuse. James Harden's getting paid $40 million this year. Kevin Durant's getting paid $39. Kyrie Irving is somewhere we don't know at an undisclosed location doing whatever it is that he does, but still getting $33.4 million this season. In the end, what it comes down to is that all of these brothers are big-time basketball players. This is Kevin Durant's franchise. James Harden would not be there unless Kevin Durant wanted him to be there. It's definitely a security blanket in case things continue to fall in the wrong direction as it pertains to Kyrie Irving. It's going to come down with James Harden and Kevin Durant. And let me be very, very clear. We can sit up there and we can talk about James Harden all we want to. The man has averaged over 30 the last 3 years, at least 29 the last 4 years, at least 28 the last 5 years. He is one of the most prolific scorers this game of basketball has ever seen. And more importantly than that, he loves to play the game of basketball. He doesn't engage in load management. He believes in showing up. You can worry about a few things all you want to about James Harden, but the one thing you do not have to worry about is him showing up to play the game of basketball, because he wants to play. He wanted to play with Kevin Durant, at least until this morning after all of this Kyrie news percolated. Then Philadelphia was obviously an option with Daryl Morey, his former president of basketball operations in Philly, along with Doc Rivers, the head coach there now. But everybody that knows anything about the NBA right now knew that Tillman Fertitta, the owner for the Houston Rockets, would never allow James Harden to end up in Philadelphia with Daryl Morey. They end up going to the finals. His former star, his former president of basketball operations. Folks in the NBA community firmly believe Philadelphia was never going to be an option, no matter what James Harden wanted. But obviously, he wants and loves the idea of playing with Kevin Durant.
So the Rockets get a boatload of picks here. You mentioned the Nets, and you think it's championship or bust. What advice would you give Steve Nash? First-time head coach Steve Nash now guiding this team with these stars.
Embrace James Harden and Kevin Durant and let Kyrie Irving figure it out. You can't trust Kyrie Irving right now. It's just that simple. We're not questioning his greatness as a basketball player, his box office appeal, where his heart is at, because it's in the right place. But clearly at this particular moment in time, basketball is not the priority it needs to be. And if you're Steve Nash coaching on any level for the first time in your career, you do not need to be concerned about what he's going to do, when he's going to do it, how he's going to do it, etc. You know you can trust Kevin Durant to show up and play ball if he's healthy. You know you can trust James Harden to show up and play basketball for this franchise if he's healthy. You focus on that and the other parts that you have, and if Kyrie Irving wants to come back, when he wants to come back, put the onus on him to fit in. That's what you do if you're Steve Nash at this particular moment in time, because Kyrie Irving has already shown you you're not the priority you need to be. So why make him one?
All right, we're coming back with much more from Stephen A. later on this program. Also, top of the hour, it's your show, SportsCenter. Looking forward to that. We're looking at Houston's lineup.
Welcome in the man, the ultimate NBA insider who broke this story with our own Ramona Shelburne, the one and only Adrian Wojnarowski. Woj, how did this trade happen so quickly? Break this down for us.
Stephen, over the last few days, these talks started to gain some momentum, and ultimately Brooklyn and Philadelphia were the two teams who were willing to kind of go the distance in putting packages together to try to get a player of James Harden's caliber. Those talks went through last night into this morning, and then this afternoon, really once Houston found a fourth team in the deal, Indiana, to move Karis LeVert for Victor Oladipo, there was a trade in place, and this is what Brooklyn wanted to do all along: find a third star for Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. They did it. They did it at a steep price, but they've landed James Harden.
Woj, how long had this been percolating? We've been hearing about this for quite some time, that James Harden obviously wanted to end up in Brooklyn, but then we were hearing Philadelphia, and then you take into consideration Kyrie Irving and what's been going on.
Superstar co-star for Kevin Durant, regardless of what Kyrie's future is with the Nets.
Woj, thanks, but I got bad news for you. After all the work you put in, you can't go anywhere. I need you again. I'll be back to you shortly. Don't go anywhere. Your reaction to this deal, do you feel it's a good thing for the Brooklyn Nets?
Stephen A., surprisingly, I don't. And here's why. Yes, you have all the offensive power in the world, but guess what? Defense wins championships. And you can't tell me a last NBA championship team in the last 5 years that wasn't top 5 defensively. And I'm looking at this roster and I'm saying, who in the hell is going to guard? Who's going to guard Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown? Who's going to guard Joel Embiid? You need people out there that's going to defend at a high level. And when I'm looking at this Brooklyn Nets team and what they did, I strongly believe that they dropped the ball by getting rid of Jared Allen. He was their rim protector. He was their lob threat. He anchored the defense. So right now, one word comes to mind, Stephen A., on the offensive end: sacrifice. Who is going to sacrifice? Everyone can't have the basketball. There's only one of them.
I'll be back to you in a few, Kendrick Perkins. Don't you go anywhere. I need to get back to Woj for a second here, because another part of this blockbuster deal needs to be discussed. That's Victor Oladipo going to Houston and Karis LeVert going to Indiana. What's the thought behind this part of the deal, Woj?
Well, I think for Indiana, it was a chance to get a very good young player in Karis LeVert, who's on a good contract, who I think really fits in there with Malcolm Brogdon and Domantas Sabonis, Miles Turner. It's a good playoff team. And in Indiana, clearly there was not a future. That partnership had really been frayed between Victor Oladipo and the Pacers. And, they were ready to move on from each other. And now Houston has a chance to either take a look at Victor. Do they want to re-sign him? He'll be a free agent in the offseason. They could move him again, though, before the trade deadline. So they have some options in Houston with Oladipo.
Woj, appreciate the great work as always, buddy. Thank you.